Nadia Khalil won the competition on a Thursday. She was 29. The brief had asked for a city designed from scratch, a fully planned community for 50,000 people. She submitted 140 pages of drawings, schematics, projections, and arguments. The consortium read them all. They called her the next morning. "You have the commission," they said. "The city will be built exactly to your specifications. Every street, every school, every bus route, every square foot of affordable housing. We will build what you drew." Nadia was already sketching the next iteration in her head when they added the condition. "There is one more thing." They explained it calmly, as if it were the most ordinary clause in the world. Once the city was built, Nadia would live in it, not as its architect, but as its poorest resident. She would be assigned the lowest income housing, the least desirable job, the longest commute. She would live this way for 2 years. She would not be permitted to tell anyone who she was or what she had designed. "We want to know," the consortium said, "if you designed a city you can live in as anyone." Nadia looked at her blueprints. She had spent 8 months on them. She had thought about sightlines and green space and catchment areas for schools. She had not thought about what it would feel like to walk 45 minutes to a bus stop at 5 in the morning, in the rain, carrying a mop. She signed the contract anyway. She wanted to know too. The city was built in 14 months. It was beautiful from the air. Concentric rings of housing radiating outward from a central plaza, parks distributed at regular intervals, a light rail system that connected every district. Architecture magazines called it a triumph. Nadia's former professors wrote letters of congratulations. She did not read them. She was moving into a 300 square foot apartment in the outermost ring, where the light rail did not reach, and the nearest grocery store was a 90-minute walk. Her new name was Amina. Her new job was janitorial services at the central office complex. The building she had designed is the city's commercial heart. She had placed the executive washrooms on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the city. She had not designed a break room for the janitorial staff. She had not thought to. On her first day, she cleaned the windows she had drawn. The months that followed were a slow education in the gap between intention and experience. She had designed the affordable housing to be modest but dignified. Clean lines, natural light, communal gardens. She lived there now. The walls were thin. The natural light arrived for 40 minutes in the afternoon and then abandoned the apartment to shadow. The communal garden was beautiful, but it was locked between 10 at night and 6 in the morning, which meant she could not sit in it during the hours she was actually home. She had designed the bus routes to be efficient. She took the bus now. The 5:17 a.m. route to the Central District required a transfer at the mid-ring station. The transfer took 45 minutes. She had modeled the transfer time as acceptable in her planning documents. She had never stood at a bus stop in February at 5:30 in the morning watching the bus she needed pull away because her first bus was late, knowing the next one would not arrive for an hour. She had designed the school catchment areas to distribute children evenly across the city, ensuring that every school was diverse. But the school in the outermost ring, her district, was underfunded compared to the schools in the inner rings. The wealthier districts had donated to their local schools. The poorer districts could not. She had assumed, without ever writing it down, without ever quite thinking it, that the wealthier districts would share. They did not. Every day she discovered a new gap between what she had intended and what she had built. Every gap was a failure of imagination. She had imagined a city. She had not imagined living in it tired or broke or alone. In the second year, she began to draw again. Not blueprints, not schematics, sketches, quick, urgent drawings of the things she was learning. The bus stop at 5:17 a.m., the faces of the people waiting with her, the woman who always had coffee, the man who always fell asleep standing up, the communal garden at dusk, pressed against the locked gate, looking in, the school playground where the equipment was rusted, and the children played anyway. She drew the city, not as a plan, but as a place. She drew the gaps. And then she drew the fixes. A bus route that actually worked for the people who took it. A school funded equally, regardless of district. A garden that was never locked. A city where the person who cleaned the windows could afford to live within sight of them. 2 years ended. The consortium summoned her back. They handed her the keys to her old life. Her name, her apartment in the inner ring, her job at the firm, her reputation. They asked her what she had learned. She placed her sketches on the table. Not the blueprints, the sketches. Every city is a confession, she said. You can read what a society values by looking at who has to transfer buses and who doesn't, by looking at whose gardens are locked, by looking at whose schools have new books and whose don't. I designed a city for the person I wanted to be. I should have designed it for the person I became. The consortium was silent. Nadia returned to her desk. She opened her old blueprints. She began to revise them, not as an architect, but as someone who had lived in them. She moved the affordable housing closer to the grocery store. She added a bus route that connected the outer ring directly to the central district. She drew a garden without a gate. It was a small change, one line on a page. She drew it anyway. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this kind of content, please leave a comment below. See you in the next one.